it may or may not have a story behind it. Sometimes you can remember a story, you had a particular trauma that you recall. Sometimes there's no story, it's just a pain that you need to get to know. And the trick here is never to wish it away, but to be at peace with it. And that's when the healing starts to happen.
Yes.
As in things, right? Somehow there's this grace, this act of grace, where somehow you're able to reach a point where you can accept reality as it is. Things happen, shit happens, and that's okay.
Join us in the realm of holistic human, where we explore the essential elements that empower us to flourish, revealing our hidden potential and nurturing our growth.
The ego with a capital E pertains to anthroposophy, writing about that higher self, and yet the keyword is retains that flavor of individuality. So it's both individual and yet connected at the same time to everything around it. It's both transcendental and yet has an agency of free will that chooses to align with the divine. So in a way that sets up and in a way the clairvision school is about getting there, getting to know that higher self, getting to know that the higher spirit inside. But that's where, if you have read enough as well, you will know that this differs somewhat from Eastern religions, which is about a total dissolution of the ego and the self, selflessness.
Yes.
So in Buddhism, talk about anatta, selfless. And even in the Hindu tradition, atta or the Atman, self, and Brahman, the divine higher thing. Atman and Brahman are two sides of the same coin, and actually they are devoid of any self characteristics in there. It's actually emerging into this, you dissolve into the whole ocean. So even though the Hindus and the Buddhists argue which are, the Buddhists love to say that we are anatta, non-self. You guys are self. Atta, Atman, you guys are actually selfish. It's bullshit. It's just nonsensical polemics.
Okay.
Rooted in historical times of differentiating between me right, you wrong, me better than you, bullshit. Hindu thought and Buddhist thought are very similar in the endpoints. Okay, because of Atman and Brahman. But where the clairvision school differs is it takes on this higher self that still retains an agency of free will to align the divine. And they get stronger as you develop rather than getting weaker. So in a way, okay lah, you can call it self-goyo, it's like the best of both worlds. I retain individual free will, but I'm also connected to the divine. Wow, okay. That aside, it's not so much for studying koyok here, but it's more like this is actually the trend of Western thought. Esoteric Western thought, if I'm not wrong, tends to keep this thread of free will and individual agency, despite being merged in this transcendental divine, which kind of contrasts with Eastern thought that tends to talk about a dissolving of that individual self into nothingness, into an ocean of being. Perhaps it's also semantics at the end. Perhaps at the end they mean the same thing. You know, how at certain levels of spiritual understanding or experience, words cannot really define it, and you both feel merged into a oneness as much as feeling very centered in oneself. They mean the same thing. So perhaps at certain points, the semantics are just semantics. I do not know. But at least in terms of
you are the drop in the ocean, and you are the ocean. This is like you cannot. It's very hard to elaborate further. Yeah.
So as a philosophical starting point, one of the key differences between esoteric Western thought, esoteric Eastern thought is the fact that the esoteric Western thought still keeps the agency of free will, while the esoteric Eastern thought tends to talk about dissolution of free will. But again, as we are coming to terms here as well with each other, that at some point the two seem to, or rather, we are not at the level now, just about language and this context, to be able to discuss meaningfully about such higher states without getting lost in contradictions and paradoxes. And we can just leave it at there. There is a philosophical difference. There might be some similarity or commonality in experience at that level, but beyond that, we cannot talk. A bit hard to discuss this further in this current context.
I understand. And it's also complicated by Vedic text, Pali language. There is no equivalent English term or Chinese term. Some things are just can get lost in translation. And also, what do you think?
No, yes and no. Obviously, the Chinese Buddhist texts have done their darn best to translate the required Buddhist terms from the original Pali and Sanskrit. So the Chinese text would probably have translated from the Sanskrit version. So the Buddha supposedly taught in Pali, which is a dialect of Sanskrit at that time.
And it's that at that time Pali it's not a written language, right? It's
Oh, okay. Not written. Okay, I find it hard to imagine that there will be no written form of the language. But what I would say for sure is that the scriptures were not recorded in writing. Yes, they were orally
Yeah.
recited and memorized and passed down
Yes.
through oral transmission.
True. I think Ananda and there's this other person, right? Who there are 5 people listening together. He had this little council where he passed on how to deliver his teachings into writing. There was this meeting of council of elders or something.
We're digressing here a bit.
Okay.
Anyway, you're free to edit this part also. I don't know how you do it, but Ananda is the one who was responsible for memorizing all the scriptures, all the teachings. I don't know whether he had a little council or not. He may or may not have. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not surprised if he had as well to prove it him. But Ananda was in legend has it we record that he has super memory. He never forgets anything that the Buddha taught. So he was the one that was made to recite all the Buddha's teachings at the first Buddhist council that was held nearly straight after the Buddha's passing and attended only by arahats at that time, according to the recordings of the first council. They listened as Ananda recited everything out, and then they all memorized it together. Essentially, then they passed down the teachings from there after the Buddha's death. So goes the recording of the first council. What was I going with this? So Sanskrit, and then later on, the Mahayana, they had their own scriptures as well, and they were in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is apparently a more polished and formal language than Pali is. Pali has got certain grammatical inconsistency. Sanskrit is very strict. It's almost like German, or perhaps a form of Super German. German is a more strict form of a European language than English is. English has a lot of exceptions to the rules. German is like the tenses, the male pronoun, female pronouns, everything is all very strictly established. If you study Pali, I study a bit of Pali as well. It's also quite rigid.
Amazing.
Sanskrit is even more strict on this. And the Mahayana scriptures were recorded in Sanskrit. And I think the Chinese translators then translated all that into Chinese. They have tried to get equivalent, which is another big discussion on its own. It's pretty interesting to read some of the Chinese translations of technical Buddhist terms and see whether they make sense or don't make sense, and see how some of these terms are rooted in Taoist or sometimes perhaps they purposefully use terms that were different from the Taoist and Confucian counterparts to make sure they distinguish a technical term away from Taoist and Confucian thought. Some of the terms are like that. Now that's another discussion which is fascinating. I don't know enough. I only come across this in my chat group recently. Some of the Chinese terms one thought I had was these terms are perhaps derived to differentiate them from Confucian and for example, the word de and xian in Chinese, de means morals and xian means sage. Apparently, it's not found in the Chinese Buddhist scriptures, despite the fact that the words sage and the word morals or ethics comes out fairly often enough in Buddhist scriptures. You don't see the words de and xian in the ancient Chinese translations. Whereas de and xian are very common words in Chinese language that mean morals and sage, a good person. So interesting, right? But anyway, that's another thing.
You have a wealth of information inside you. I think, we can carry this conversation another time. Two things just came out to me just now when you said is that, harking back to much earlier in the discussion, we talked about many religions have their own spiritual side of things, the mystic side of things. For example, in Islam, we have Rumi. In Christianity, we have Saint Francis of Assisi. And also recently, I was just somehow it popped into, I was researching other stuff, and Saint Ignatius of Loyola came to it, and he has this 7-day spiritual retreat thing. And so there's one part I just want to add on. The part 2 was that you mentioned about Rudolf Steiner. So I sent my kids to Waldorf school, and then anthroposophy is like what they teach, how our children should learn, what is the natural way things should grow organically instead of start reading and writing at age 3. That's actually against what human nature is. And also a contemporary of Rudolf Steiner would be Madame T. Blavatsky, who talks about theosophy. And also it's a huge tome of information. I just scratched the surface, but it's interesting that things that she wrote and then she talked about in 1890s, for example, the auric egg, is now proven by institutions like HeartMath, talking about the toroidal magnetic field around the body, which is 100 times stronger from the heart than from the brain. And I find, like, to me, this is another evidence of consilience, and then OH things being proven. I think this one, so last time we talked about acupuncture, the qi travels through the meridians, and then Western doctors said, where's the proof? Where's the proof of this meridian? They don't exist in dissection. But actually, since 2009, it's actually been found already. They travel in channels called Bonghan channels, named after Professor Kim Bong-han from Korea. And then nowadays, with electron microscopy, with staining techniques, they can actually stain the Bonghan ducts or Bonghan channels. And then it stains, they do not use eosin, they use something that stains it blue. But I don't think it's methylene blue. And then after that, they can, using a electron microscope, they can actually identify the structures. And then when they see in a microscope, the Bonghan channels, the structure of the channels is different from lymph, it's different from capillaries, but it's about the same size. And what travels inside these Bonghan channels is actually biophotons and technically organic light. And when do these channels activate and conduct this light, right, is when we are in coherence or when the ducts are under pressure. That's when you do acupressure, when you put the needle in, right? That's when you actually feel the 酸麻重胀. That's when the energy is transmitted. And also in the state of alpha, when you meditate, then you feel the energy arising in your body. It's also when your mind and heart is coherent. That's when the energy flows. So it's pretty amazing how science is now validating all these ancient concepts. And yesterday, I led a mindfulness masterclass, a workshop. Some of the participants came from the Sunday one, which is a masterclass, and then they came to the workshop. The Sunday one guy, the first session, never meditated before. He said that when I guided him to meditation, he saw the image of Buddha, the backlighted Buddha. I don't know whether it's actually the Mandelbrot pattern or not, which I think is like super amazing for his first session. And then yesterday, the two ladies had the experience of, I said that no, it's not so easy. But then they actually felt I would think it's the pranayama kosha that they are feeling. They feel that a part of them is like contracting, expanding, and then feeling slightly outside their body like that. So I think it's this, we all have the hardware to experience the energy in our bodies. And yeah, it's like whether we have spent the necessary time and experience in doing this. And a lot of people ask us, what is this for? Understanding your biofield and your energy body can benefit you in the mental, spiritual, and even your mental, spiritual, and physical level, your aches and pains. That's what Tuina, that's what acupuncture is all about. Yeah. Sorry, I rambled a lot.
No problem. I just texted you actually about Bonghan channels. Just send me some link, because this is new to me. I don't think I've heard of it. I've heard of many things also. As far as I know, I think the physical evidence for acupuncture in terms of where exactly how it travels in, I think it's still controversial, or rather sense that it's still not finalized. Like, where are those channels located? Is
I
it
see.
electric? Is it biophotons, as you put it? Is it travel fascial planes?
Yes, fascial plane is one of the theories. Yes.
Nothing is, many things been advanced. All of it makes some sense in one way or the other. But in terms of the rigid, in terms of the Western framework, is give me a physical, measurable thing, then we talk. That's how the Western physical science does it go.
Okay, let us go here. Yep, if you can see the screen here. So the meridians are our energy highway. Okay, so BHC is the Bonghan corpuscles. BHD is the Bonghan ducts at a magnification of 500 micrometers. And then you can see over here, which is different from the capillaries, they are stained blue. And then this is the 3D microscope re-engineering. And then when you do it, and then you actually cross-section it, how the cell is being placed is actually different from a blood capillary, and how is it different from a lymphatic capillary. And this is the research that actually biophoton travels within the channels, and when you're in a coherent or when it's squeezed, then you release that's when the energy travels within. And yeah, the keyword is coherence. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So which is really exciting for me.
Like a fiber optic cable.
Correct. Exactly. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. And yeah, just now you mentioned like that initially we're gonna talk about acupuncture and Western medicine, but definitely with you we cannot just stay in one topic, because we have so many similarities. We explore so many different things and our different times always, and then we see things in the same way and in a little different way. So there's so much to talk about. But if there's anything you want to like carry further from acupuncture, Western medicine, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in a way I'm let me off the hook a bit by going into spiritual stuff, because as I say already, I'm still starting out with the acupuncture journey, so I don't have much clinical experience. I don't even have much experience in seeking help from TCM for my health problems. If any. I've either just rest or take the occasional Panadol here and there to get some symptom relief or body heals itself. I've hardly used any Chinese medicine for any serious illness or anything. Thank God, no serious illness so far. I think the one thing I was picking up from there are many ways of acupuncture. One way, there's auricular acupuncture where the ear mirrors the whole body, right? For example, and then there's also, that's not a Chinese concept, but the iris.
王不留指.
Wang Bu Liu Ci for the ear.
Yeah.
And then I think the iris itself mirrors the body as well. There's you take a photograph of the iris and it's supposed to be the iris when it looks off, it mirrors a certain part of the body. I think this is more of maybe an alternative Western medicine.
It's called iridology. There are iridologists out there. Yes.
So in this case, I think the hands also mirror that. Apparently, this particular, we call it, my teacher says from Cheng Zijun. I can send you the name later on. His family was the one that came up with this clinical observation that the intermetacarpal spaces, the interrossi? The interosseous spaces. Let me see. From medial to lateral. Radial to ulna. Let me see. From radial to ulna. Radial is cervical. Then middle is thoracic, and then the most ulnar one will be lumbar, supposedly. So you press for tender spots along that gap where it's tender, you needle there, and then you will feel a corresponding effect in the spine. I'm still playing with that a little bit, but basically there are many such acupuncture tricks, so-called, where different body parts literally mirror a larger part of the body that you can operate on. Remotely. This is like a remote manipulation to affect a distant part of the body, which I'm sure you're familiar with, in the sense that there'll be different such variations of such thought and practice.
Correct. Yeah. So other than the ear, the auricular acupuncture, we also have the foot massage, right? And then also every tooth also represents one organ also.
I didn't know. Okay.
And regarding this area, there's a 脐穴点 over here, there is 腰痛点. So what happened was that my cousin, that time he was, I think, 40 plus, and then he went for a jog. After the jog, right, he had this, I don't know, somehow he sprained his lower back. And there's this bystander came and helped him massage the back. And then, don't know whether I think it was trying to help, but then what happened was the next day, my cousin cannot get out of bed. So my auntie called me and said, can you do anything? And he literally cannot go out of bed. So we are not going to call an ambulance for a 40-year-old. So I was staying in Commonwealth at the time. So I took a cab over to, I think it was, Bukit Timah. And I went to him. Oh, then he told me what happened. So I just focused on, it's your lumbar region, right? Let me focus on this 腰痛点. I had needles at the time, but I cannot find it because I don't know where I store it. So I just used acupressure. So I massaged the 腰痛点, which is between the second and third metacarpal, and then the fourth and fifth metacarpal. And after a while, I asked him to twist your neck, twist your thorax, twist your lumbar, and then he could stand up. And then this acupressure thing is just amazing. You don't even need needles. And then moving on from that is each body part can represent the whole, right? Which is the entire idea behind fractals, the entire idea behind the universe and human body, the phi, the golden ratios, and fractal patterns, this whole thing is just, this ecosystem is just amazing. Yeah. And other than, a little bit more about acupuncture. So when I had my first spiritual awakening back in 2015, when I came back to Malaysia, I quit my government service. I ran a clinic, and then my boss was Dr. Mahesh. He's Indian, but he's very open. So he said that, hey, I agree with your plan. Let's run acupuncture in this Western medicine clinic. So I printed a billboard and said that acupuncture services available here. Then we had a profit sharing. So interestingly, a lot of Malay patients came. And then they never heard of acupuncture. They are acupuncture virgins. And then so they experienced it, and then they had very good effects in terms of pain relief. And then they said that, hey, doctor, boleh ajar saya tak? I'm like, I'm not qualified to teach, man, but it's interesting. And then I remember there's this lady, she had lumbar pain also. Then she came in and I said that, okay, I'm going to try this. It may be quite strong, right? Because I'm going to target Wei Zhong, which is in the popliteal fossa behind the knee. I poked a needle in, she almost flew off the bed because of how strong the reaction was. And is she going to come back? Is she going to come back? And surprisingly, she came back a second time for a repeat session. So it's actually, the point is this modality, it helps people. and people actually feel the benefit. I still keep records of this patient came in for blood pressure. And after needling, instead of fear, anxiety causing the blood pressure to spike up, after my needling, the blood pressure came down. I did recordings. This patient came for sciatica. This patient came in for what? And it's effective. It's just that once I came to Singapore, my license is not applicable here, so I can't do anything. But what I can do, I teach patients acupressure. Oh, yeah, maybe like when you are in states of alpha in meditation, how do you feel your energy body? What is it like? Would you like to share a little bit? Yeah, we go a lot of dimensions here.
I don't think I identify states as alpha as such. I know alpha is supposed to be a state of calm
relaxation
and centeredness. I've had different experiences based on, for example, the clairvision school. If let's say I'm somewhere in the third eye area, I would feel spread and centered, and from there it becomes the whole body, because when you go in, it becomes your universe. That's the idea anyway. And it feels a bit different, say, when I am starting from above my head and I enter into a space that also feels not exactly the same, but yet it also feels like it covers the whole universe. Perhaps what's important there, I don't know what's important there. The way
maybe I phrased the question wrongly. Sorry.
No problem.
Or maybe just elaborate what is a session like for you? What do you do and what do you experience? Yeah.
Oh, our morning meditation, if you want to talk about our morning routine, is what we call, it's called the Thunder One meditation. Thunder One sounds like a very sexy name, I know, but basically it means the central channel, and it's like a thunder wand. It's like Harry Potter's wand.
I see.
But Harry Potter wasn't invented then, but
yes,
it's that kind of connotation, like the magic wand, it's the magic channel. So then you go through the energy centers one by one. You spend a couple of minutes, 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes on each one: the atom, the throat, the heart, the pelvic envelope. And then you have a phase where you let all the envelopes merge into one fluid whole. And then you go down to the root charge. I don't know what's called we call it the charge. It's the root charge, the one in the perineum. We end off with above the head. So that's the standard routine for a morning meditation that we do lah. Few different things. We let different things adjust, align themselves. Sometimes you feel blockages in certain energy centers. It may or may not have a story behind it. Sometimes you can remember a story, you had a particular trauma that you recall. Sometimes there's no story, it's just a pain that you need to get to know. And the trick here is never to wish it away, but to be at peace with it. And that's when the healing starts to happen. As you things, right? Somehow there's this grace, this act of grace, where somehow you're able to reach a point where you can accept reality as it is. Things happen, shit happens, and that's okay. And when you can really accept and yet still move forward, not move on, move forward with whatever is, that's when the healing happens, and that's where growth happens, because you can integrate the lessons of the past, whether it's painful or pleasurable. At the end of the day, when you have got there, it's not about the pain or the pleasure. It's about an event that has happened, that has affected you, and that you can always learn and grow from. And that's when the magic of healing happens. And I don't think that's unique to the clairvision school. It's probably every spiritual school guide human beings similarly to find that level of acceptance and moving forward at the same time. And also I want to add that for me, this sense of a mission, I think you did mention that at some point when I said faith and you said mission. And I do feel that sense that no, I don't know clearly what the mission is, and maybe it's not at my pay scale on earth to know the exact mission, but the sense that there's a light that I'm following, there's a faith that I'm keeping, the fire that I am keeping going, and that relates to things much bigger than me of the future that I am helping or being a part of. And isn't that what all of us do when we are taking part in things bigger than ourselves?
Yes.
We sacrifice, when we make personal sacrifice.
we be the best bridges that we can be.
Yeah, and we make personal sacrifices,
Yeah.
which we make because we believe there's a bigger outcome beyond us. And it's really about the future, about our loved ones, about the future, whether it's people or people you don't know. It doesn't matter. It's about the future. Really, I think the clairvision school is a lot about the future, and that, I guess, has slowly seeped in a bit more. That I'm more. I think I've always been like that, but I'm more conscious of the fact that whatever we do is for the future. Yes, the present is important. So yes, when you meditate, future job. So the operational method is always the present. There's no doubt. You stray the past or the future, you're screwed. You don't get anywhere. It's the present. Yes. But we are, in a way, we are doing all that we are doing now because we want to pass on that legacy to awaken more people. It's towards a future of awakened people, awakened humans, awakened civilization. It's for that future. But in terms of the actual work, yes, it's the present moment. So don't get that wrong. So there's two different contexts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to the clairvision meditation, right? So I just wonder, is the thunder one same as Sushumna? Is in Ida Pingala Sushumna? Is it the same thing?
Yes and no. So there are parallels here, and actually my teacher also uses the Ida and Pingala breathing method as well. I don't use it that often, but he uses that as well, and he teaches us that. And the Sushumna is that middle, that center, that's the in harmony, the balance between the Ida and Pingala. This is where I don't want to say the wrong thing. I think there are parallels there, but the clairvision technique of the thunder one, I guess you can say it may be it could be the way we interpret or the way we use the concept of Sushumna in this case. I wouldn't call it exactly the same because it may be the same concept of central channel, but depending on which spiritual school and the techniques you use, that central channel is shaped in a specific way based on the different technique and also based on the spiritual connections behind the technique. We don't, at least the methods I'm doing, and I hate to say all methods, we will know for sure, but
yes,
there's spiritual forces backing it. We are tapping on wisdom of people that have come before us. We're also tapping on the wisdom of non-physical beings that are backing these methods and feeding us their wisdom and their energies as well. So the clairvision school will have its own background or plethora of forces helping it, as whichever other school. And of course, it doesn't mean they are friends or not friends. At the end of the day, all we know, they're holding hands somewhere else up there, all things become one.
What an amazing picture, yes.
Yeah.
Singing Kumbaya.
Yeah, but at the same time, there is diversity observed on Earth. There are different races, there are different cultures, there are different techniques, and they have their own flavor of connections behind it. So yes, in summary, I would say we can call it like the Sushumna. It's the same concept, same idea, but the experience and the cultivation of the Sushumna would be different based on what techniques you learn from, what teachers teach you, and what are the spiritual connections behind that. That's how I understand that. Yes and no distinction.
Understand. Yeah, very good answer. Thanks for that. And also this Ida Pingala Sushumna. So recently someone told me the parallels is Yin Yang Shen. Shen is actually the third player of that one. And also I never mentioned this officially in any podcast before, but I think with you I can. I had a Kundalini awakening, and previously when I doubted my own experience when I experienced the chakras. I doubted my own experience when I experienced the microcosmic orbit, but then I right? But then I validated the experience by actually counting the pulse that runs across my head, goes into my belly button and comes down the perineum and goes back up to my head again. I counted it, and the frequency was 42 per minute. At that time, I counted my heart rate, it was 84. So it's like half of my usual heart rate. And then, but still, I cannot tell this to anyone. Also, there's no one that understands to say that I'm probably crazy. But when I had the Kundalini awakening, when the whole body is thrilling, the whole body is vibrating, when you feel the energy pulsing through your entire being, and then you can project your energy where you want. That one I no longer self-doubt. I say that this one I cannot fake by myself now. This one I cannot imagine because it's just through overwhelmingly powerful. But it's so I think that's when Ida and Pingala, the DNA double helix thing goes up, and then Sushumna shoots up. I think that is what I understand of Kundalini awakening. And talking about clairvision, right? I heard, there was this transcendental meditation that's in the reach in the Western countries also. And then how is it similar? How is it different? It's something I wondered for quite a while.
I can't tell you.
Oh, okay.
TM historically is pretty old. I won't say pretty old. Okay. I suspect it had its origins back in the hippie era. Westerners going over to India to pick things off. But I think TM also would have been attributed to certain Indian gurus that would have a strong influence in the West. That's why it is labeled with a Western name and popular in the West. But I can't tell you more beyond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But all I can say is that I think TM did not have a direct influence on the clairvision school's teachings. Although in reality, especially with people as eclectic as the founder Samuel Sagan, who pick things off different people, and different people pick things off different people.
Yes.
Knowledge in history that's truly unique. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Things off each other.
Yes.
Consciously,
And then they synthesize it to a new form.
Correct.
That's applicable to that era.
Yeah. However, in terms of actual, like you want to do the analytical reductionist historical kind of approach, I don't think TM had a direct link to the clairvision school. Yeah.
Understand. One last bit I want to talk about. Let me think. Let's talk a little bit about mindfulness. So the mindfulness movement started with Professor John Kabat-Zinn, right, who brought mindfulness, and he started the MBSR movement, mindfulness-based stress reduction. So he also, I'm not sure whether it's Buddhist or Vedic, but he also came from there. And then his vision was to make it something secular that everyone can benefit from. So in his process, he removed all the religious connotation and aspect, and then it became the pure form MBSR. And recently, I just chatted with Professor Emeritus Michael Krasner, who is a direct teacher from John Kabat-Zinn, and right now he's in his inner circle. And then we chatted about mindfulness.
Direct student or direct teacher?
Yeah, direct student. Sorry.
Okay,
thanks for catching me there. Direct student, and then right now he's in his inner circle, and then he is bringing mindfulness into Singapore. They ran a 4-day intensive camp, I think last month, and then he'll be visiting end of the year again. Mindfulness is like currently the in vogue, this sort of thing. And also just recent experience, I met with Dr. Robert Cote. He performs alpha alignment. And as I chat with him, ONTC just come up. So he was like, oh, Robert Minster Fuller was one of his mentors. And I said, he's alive and you're there? He said, yeah, he's a very amazing a person. And then we talk, and then he said that, oh, do you know Robert Kiyosaki? We were in the same group. I'm like, what the? It's like, okay, that level of person. And I thought these people are unreachable, untouchable. Then I'm speaking to somebody who is either a compatriot or a student. And recently I learned theory and techniques from Dr. Jean Houston. I'm not sure whether you've heard of her. Yeah, Jean Houston. Yeah, she's 86 years old, still actively flying around the world. She is a UN ambassador. She was the advisor for Hillary Clinton at one point in time. And she spoke to Albert Einstein. And so she recalled the experience that Albert Einstein, that when the students visited him, he was wearing these misfit socks, and it's intentionally so to spark his creativity. I'm like, oh, this world is just amazing, and I'm very lucky to meet all these people. Would you have a mentor or a figure that you look up to in your journey in all this esoteric or alternative side of things?
Yeah, so this is one of my struggles. I don't know whether this is a lesson for me in itself. I don't think I have ever had a mentor ever. There are people I look up to and admire, people I learn from for sure. There are people I would consider mentors in that I really learn something valuable from them. Most people talk about, hey, this is my spiritual mentor, this is my career, my medical mentor. So I think my first big struggle is I don't really have a medical mentor, number one. But maybe not surprising given what I've shared about my diverse interests in healthcare and medicine. It'd be hard to find somebody who can. I'm walking a path less traveled, right?
Yes,
so it's more likely I will learn from different people. Yeah, I will learn from different mentors than anything else, right? So maybe no surprise. So maybe this conversation has helped me to start unlocking or start coming to peace, coming to terms with this dilemma. I'm not having a medical mentor. That's one. Even a spiritual mentor, I learn things from different people, and I'm always indebted to Samuel Sagan. He died in 2016. Is it? think he died in 2016. So I joined the school in 2009 to 2010, 2011. So I've had the fortune at least 5 or 6 years, not to see him all the time, but when I go to the US for courses or the Australia for courses, I would see him, and he would teach directly as well. So that's a privilege. So I learned a lot from him, but I won't consider him the mentor. Anyway, he's gone, he's dead. So I have to meet him in the abstract plane, I've had to come to terms that not that I'm my own teacher. Well, philosophically, yes, we are our own teachers also. And everybody's teaching us. But I think it's about, having to own the lessons that I learn and able to be open enough to speak to different people while trying not to pigeonhole myself too much in any category or with any particular person. Then try my best thereafter to synthesize the things that come along. So that is both my struggle and maybe my lesson. And I tell you, I would have much loved my life to be simpler by saying, oh, he's my mentor, she's my mentor. That's it. My life was quite complete. I would have loved to keep things like that's not how my life is turning out.
Yeah. Yes. I feel you. I resonate with that also. And this 8 years for me, bumping my head on different walls, learning the long way, then knowing that, there's actually like a shortcut, easy way of understanding things. And then learning Eastern, Western, synthesizing, and then realizing, actually this part is somebody corrects that. Actually this part doesn't fit that way. Or then having an epiphany and then moving forward again. Then learning, adding on, realizing that initially I thought I get everything out. This 9-piece Rubik cube is all there is. And then suddenly I was faced with a 16-face Rubik cube. And after that, there's a 24-face Rubik cube, for example. It just keeps on expanding. And I too do not have a mentor, but it's like marrying the concepts and making sure that I keep myself sane and having discourses, elevate our topic a bit, discourse with Ren Chang, and then about subjects like this also keeps me in check and telling me that I'm not crazy, I'm not alone on this path, and it's reassuring, and also it's also grounding also that this is not, I'm not going wayward. It's just that there are less people traveling this path, and maybe there's a reason for us why we walk this path. It's maybe we have a different message that we can bring to legacy, for example, that what have we taught, and being Western trained medical doctors gives us a certain kind of, I wouldn't say authority, but then it puts us in a different state. And whatever we say has that little bit more of oomph behind it, or also I hope, I don't know. And yeah, really glad to have met you on this journey, and then we can bounce ideas off each other and learn from you. I know I probably, in my babbling there, probably something is wrong, and then we can fact check each other, and then come at the end of the podcast, we can make erratas, for example. And yeah, moving on, are you involved in any special, unique projects that is beyond just a home hospice or home nursing foundation?
No, man. I tell you, as much as this conversation may sound a bit sexy out there to audiences listening in, or these medical doctors, so on, about spirituality, alternative medicine, having a diverse array of interests, having met many different people. I think you've met more different people than I have at this point, to be honest.
I don't know.
Yours sounds really exciting. But anyway, the thing is, hey man, I'm a simple salaried worker. I have to juggle work and family in busy Singapore. My wife demands that my kids make it to mainstream school, able to get into, I won't say the best school, but at least get even a good chance of getting a university degree of their choice. This is Asian mentality Singapore. My life revolves around 3 kids, juggling their schedule, their after-class enrichment lessons, having to juggle heavy work commitments. When my work starts, it will be 6 home visits a day, and some of them are likely to be, a large number of them are likely to be palliative in some extent, but the slower palliative, not the cancer palliative, it tends to die faster, but the slower palliative of dementias and strokes.
Failure, stroke,
yeah, but still need to discuss palliative issues because they are clearly going downhill, heading towards death in a predictable length of time. I have to juggle all these things. I'm very hesitant about taking on new projects. So my life is very in a way, my external life is very simple. I just have my work and my family, and hopefully the third thing will be bringing acupuncture more into my work and maybe my family at some stage. And then along the way, while keeping my eyes on these work, family plus acupuncture coming in, I help to bridge whichever people, be it patients or be it people I meet, they can link up with other people because they know me. That's it. And then what's the outcome at the end of the day, if I live a ripe old age or not, God only knows. So right now my life is as boring as it gets, and hopefully that's why it's interesting. That's why the meaning behind it is not how it looks like, but how can I still impact on other people and really impact on myself. Where's the meaning behind it? I do question myself, and I think while on one hand I would say, oh God, I'm still questioning the meaning of what I'm doing. Why haven't I arrived yet? But maybe that's what it's all about. It's not about having arrived. There will be an illusion of finality or an illusion of control. Yes, we need control, but that's an illusion in the sense that it's constantly on the toes, making sure that I am doing what I need to do, I'm doing what is meaningful, and not allowing. It seems like my life, as much as I'm thankful not to have experienced major shocks, but I've never been kept comfortable long enough to rest on my laurels. Never. In a way, it's a personal tragedy. As I said, I wish I could have things simplified. 1, 2 mentors, that's it. My life is simple. I'm arrived. I'm a professor of medicine. I have 10 different papers in 5 different prestigious journals. I've made it in life. Or I have reached a stage of meditation where I'm at level 10 and I'm the master of this school. I wish things were simple. It's not, and that's good. That's the journey. I'm coming to terms with this is what makes life meaningful. This is my journey, and this is hopefully the legacy I will also leave to others when I'm finally gone.
Amazing. I find solace in your words. It parallels my journey also. Is what am I doing sometimes? Why have I not arrived the idea that I'm creating change or whatever? Journey is long. Soldier on. Keep people on the spiritual path, harder goals together so that we don't feel alone. And yeah, knowing your busy schedule, really thank you, Renshang, for finding the time to have this chat with me. It's been refreshing and absolutely, how do you say, grounding. And I feel lots of gratitude for having talked with you today. And we will definitely have another chat for another day. And anything you want to chat, and then I think we can end sort of the recording here already. Yeah.
No, man. Hey, thanks so much for today, and thanks so much for the friendship. End of the day, we need to support each other.
Yes.
And as things are moving on, we used to have, families, blood ties. Now it's community of interest. That was the term that somebody told me, community of choice. Community of choice or community of interest. So we share the same interests, or we share the same commonalities, and we support each other. And yeah.
Okay, so great to see you today. Signing off from the Holistic Human Podcast. See you. Thank you, Dr. Teo.
See you again next time.
See you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's probably what you. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe, like and bell button to stay updated in our latest videos. Thank you.